Here's my tips on how you can start playing D&D with your kids. Tip number 1, always consider length of time. From my personal experience with playing with my kids, shorter sessions are a lot better at holding onto their attention. You might want to consider an adventure that lasts only 30 to 45 minutes. Heck, maybe even only a single room or a chamber room with a couple of puzzles. I've run some games before with adults, some lasting 6, 8, even 10 hours, and sometimes even they weren't engaged all the time. So with kids that might be especially tough. So my best advice is always start small, and if your kids are still engaged after 30 or only 45 minutes, then just simply expand on the adventure and away you go. That was tip number 1 for how to start playing D&D with your kids. Follow me for more. Tips on how to play D&D with your kids. Tip number 2. Physicalize the world for them. And when I say physicalize, I mean get out a map, do some drawings, get out miniatures, get out Legos, get out their toys, get out anything to help them more physicalize the world that they are in. Sometimes the storytelling might not be convincing enough, sometimes you might not elaborate as well as you'd like to. But role-playing games become a lot easier when you physically have a map and a character on it, and you can actually see the things that are going on around your character. So bust out those poster boards, markers, crayons, Legos, action figures, anything and everything to help your child physicalize the world as they play D&D, and you'll be alright. As always, like and follow for more tips on how to play D&D with your kids. How to play D&D with your kids. Tip number 3 for me is choosing appropriate content for your kids. Wouldn't you believe that there's actually a bunch of not-so-pleasant things in D&D? Like the ever-present silly trope of everybody running around murder hoboing. As a parent, one might think that, gee, that might not be appropriate for my kids. And honestly, you'd be right, so you can adapt D&D in ways that makes it age-appropriate for your kids. There's lots of really complicated subjects, like different planes of existence, the 9 hells, the Underdark, general areas that you wouldn't want to bring a 5 or a 9-year-old along with. What you could do instead is grab some inspiration from some of their favorite shows. Shows like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Blue's Clues, Dora the Explorers, all of these are adventure-based, and you can take inspiration from. So I would definitely avoid throwing some undead or demon lords at them, unless that's their thing and you think that is age-appropriate for them. So that's my 3rd tip on how you can start playing D&D with your kids. Like and follow for more. How to play D&D with your kids. Tip number 4 for me is choose a theme. And when I say choose a theme, I mean give your D&D adventure a little bit of an exterior coating that kids will be able to understand a little bit better. Believe it or not, kids might not be able to understand the concept of an orphaned rogue, an urchin paladin, or a barbarian that's been kicked from their tribal clan. Plus, your kids might just have entirely different interests altogether. Well, Daddy, I want to be a Ninja Turtle, or I want to be a Transformer, or I want to be a little pony. Hey, that's great. That means they're actually interested in something. Go ahead and wrap your D&D adventure in their particular favorite theme. Hey, if it helps your kids' imagination that they envision their fighter being a Ninja Turtle or they envision their warlock being Raven from Teen Titans, hell, just run with it. Because in the end, the classes and monsters in the D&D books are just that. They're stats in a book. You can go ahead and wrap it up in any kind of imagery you'd like. Thanks again, like and follow for more tips on how to play D&D with kids. Tips on how to play D&D with your kids. Magic tip number 5. As basic as this one sounds, you need to make it entertaining. Give the people what they want! If your kids are more into role-playing, if they're more into combat, if they're more into puzzles, give the people what they want. As a matter of fact, a lot of adult games could probably be improved with this simple rule. I mean, if your kids aren't into combat, there is no rule to say that there needs to be any. Perhaps your kids are getting enjoyment and rewards from other things, like exploring deep, dark dungeons, getting all the prettiest gems they could find, maybe having a bunch of weird animal companions. Maybe they're in it for the fat loot or the amazing weapons they could find. Make the game rewarding for them any way you can, and remember its overall purpose, for fun and entertainment. Thank you very much. Remember to like and follow. How to play D&D with your kids. Tip number 6. Getting fully immersed into D&D tabletop gaming can be expensive. Beyond just the books and dice, a previous tip mentioned to try to physicalize the world for your kids using a board and miniatures. Again, there is no rule to say that you need to use very specific miniatures in your adventures. Literally use anything that you have at your disposal. Whether you're using a tile system, whether you're using dry erase board and markers, Whether you're using Legos from the kids' play sets, anything. I do have some personal Pathfinder gear, official stuff here. Use anything from paper towel rolls to egg cartons for mountain ranges. Use toys from Happy Meals or even Shopkins. They fit nicely in the system. And always, always include your children's ideas in the games because it's all about them and having fun. Please like and follow for more tips on how to play D&D with your kids.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.